Spiritual Center. I want you to know that nothing happens by chance. Everything is by a divine appointment. And as I also greet our viewing audience, to acknowledge that we tuned in at this moment because there's something there for us. And the theme has been the magic of the season, and really tuning in to that magic of the season, also known as the season of love. Today we're looking at the light of truth. The Bible tells us, know the truth, and the truth will what? Set us free. The truth will allow us to know in whom we live and move and have our being, that we go our daily round. And in the ancient Sanskrit, there's a word called samsara. Samsara is the daily round. We get up in the morning, we brush our teeth, we do our thing, and then, interestingly enough, we go to bed, we get up in the morning, and we start all over again. That's samsara. That's the daily round. And there is a very, very interesting fine line between samsara, the daily round of getting up in the morning and doing what we've always done and going to work or doing whatever we've done, and nirvana, which is the highest state of heaven that we can attain to while on earth. So we are here to grow and unfold in some miraculous ways. And one of my very, very favorite Christmas stories, and I share it every few years, and we have never really had it recorded, and I was asked if I would do it today. And it's about a father who he feels like he's stuck, and he's stuck home. And he's stuck with 4 kids to babysit as his wife goes to have their little baby checked up. So as I share this with you today, and just acknowledge that unless we become as little children, we will not see the kingdom of God. That there is an innocence, and I'm not talking about gullible. I'm talking about being discerning. I'm talking about letting it unfold in a way that allows us to know that we are here in the world, but of a much higher spiritual vibratory frequency. If we want to know the secrets of life, remember, think in terms of vibration, frequency, and energy. That takes it out of the realm of personality, where we so often take things personally. So as I share with you today, it's called Gold, Circumstance, and Mud. And it's by Rex Knowles. And it's just one of my favorite stories. I love, love, love it, because he is so down to earth and he's truthful. He says, "It was the week before Christmas. I was babysitting with our 4 older children while my wife took the baby for his checkup. Babysitting to me means reading the paper while the kids mess up the house. Only that day, I wasn't reading, I was fuming. On every page of the paper, as I flicked angrily through them, gifts glittered, reindeer pranced, and I was told that there were only 6 more days in which to rush out and buy what I couldn't afford and nobody needed. What I asked myself indignantly was, did the glitter and the rush, what did all of this have to do with the birth of Christ consciousness? There was a knock on the door of the study where I had barricaded myself, and Nancy's voice, "Daddy, Daddy, we have a play to put on. Do you want to see it?" I didn't, but I had fatherly responsibilities. So I followed her into the living room. Right away, I knew that it was a Christmas play. For at the foot of the piano stool was a lighted flashlight, wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a shoebox. Rex, age 6, came in wearing my bathrobe and carrying a mop handle. He sat on the stool, looked at the flashlight. Nancy, age 10, draped a sheet over her head, stood behind Rex and began, "I'm Mary, and this boy is Joseph. Usually in this play, Joseph stands up and Mary sits down, but Mary sitting down is taller than Joseph standing up. So we thought it looked better this way." Enter Trudy 4 at a full run. She never has learned to walk. There were pillowcases over her arms. She spread them wide and said, "Only I'm an angel, Daddy. Then came Anne, 8. I knew right away what Anne represented because she came in riding a camel in her mother's high heels, undulating back and forth as she did this. And she was bedecked with the jewelry available. On a pillow, she carried 3 items, undoubtedly gold, frankincense, and what? Myrrh. She undulated across the room, bowed to the flashlight, to Mary, to Joseph, to the angel, and to me, and then announced, I am all 3 wise men in one. All 3. I bring precious gifts of gold, circumstance, and mud. That was all. The play was over. I didn't laugh. I prayed. How near the truth Anne was. We come at Christmas, be decked down with gold, with the showy gift and the tinsel tree. Under the circumstances, we can do no other. Circumstances of our time and place and custom. And it seems a bit like mud when we think of it. But I looked at the shining faces of my children as their audience of one applauded them, and remembered that a child showed us how these things can be transformed. I remembered that this child came into a material world, and in so doing eternally blessed the material. He accepted the circumstances, imperfect and frustrating as they were, into which life was born, and thereby infused them with the divine. And as far as the mud, to you and me it may be something to sweep off the carpet, but to all children everywhere it is something to build with. Children are so surely through the tinsel and the habit, and the earthly, to the love which to them, the love in them all, strains for expression. Yes, today I honor the gold, the circumstance, and the mud. And if we look at the stars, we have to remember, out of the stars, the mud, the stars are made. That to us it might be mud, but it's something to build with. In the circumstances of our times, we cannot turn on the television without some sensationalism. Wars, rumors of wars, upsets, crime, divisions, prejudices, unbelievable stuff. And that's why I don't watch news. I go online and I go on BBC and I see the world news, and I do it prayerfully because I think we have a lot of work to do on the planet. I heard Greg Braden, he was interviewed by Lisa Garr on Guyam Theater, and he was saying this is the most exciting time that we can live in. And as we're thinking about the gold and the economy, and we're thinking about circumstances, and we're thinking about the mud and what to build with, he shared about his friend who was a builder that lives in New Mexico near him. He said, my closest neighbor is a mile away. And he was in the building field. And then everything collapsed in 2008. And instead of looking how to reinvent his building field, he asked one question. What does humanity need? And he came up with self-sustaining greenhouses. He is thriving. They can be on patios, smaller ones, modular ones, self-sustaining, self-watering, on a patio in New York City. They can be out in Utah, as when I went to visit my daughter last April, and she took me over to her friend, who is a retired ballerina, and her pilot husband, who had a greenhouse as big as this theater. And they went in and harvesting. I mean, it was like winter. They're harvesting their broccoli and their zucchinis and their lettuce and tomatoes, and made the most amazing, profound salad. And I didn't realize that it was this man, that Greg Braden, his friend, that he was speaking about. that when he asked one question, what does humanity need? And as we look out, you know, it is wonderful when we hear statements like, you can have it all. I believe that we can have it all. I believe energetically having it all is a spiritual foundation in which everything springs. The energy, the life, the opportunity that we have every single day of our lives, and to make it fun. And when we make it fun, that joy, which is the most infallible sign of the presence of God, permeates everything we do. And it's fascinating that, you know, I've been on all these peace missions all over the world, you name it. University of Istanbul, University of Croatia, University of London, University of Germany, Cambridge at Queen's College. It just goes, you know, I've been everywhere this year. I was just at the Nobel Peace Prize last week, participating and listening to the energy of Malala. And she said, you know, after being shot in the head 2 years ago, winning the Nobel Peace Prize at 17 years old, she said, my plans are to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And I thought, this young woman will do it. She will absolutely be in that position. No matter what is going on, she has spoken and declared her truth. That truth came forth out of her mouth, goes out into the universe. Remember, everything vibrates to what? Energy, frequency, and what? Vibration. So she put that out there. And I thought, wonderful. That someone can be shot in the head, almost die, be wheeled into the hospital and say, on that day, all the fear within me was absorbed by my mission. Amazing what is coming up on the planet, that we can get so drawn in to all of the lower frequency things. But those are just the breakdowns for the breakthroughs. Think about your life. The greatest breakdown you've ever had was the greatest breakthrough you ever had. And when we look at everything falling apart, we think everything's falling apart. Yes, so it can fall together at a higher level. If we'll get ourselves out of the way, get our ego out of the way, get our judgments out of the way, and begin to see life expressed in a new way, in a new order. And as these breakdowns and old paradigms begin to fade, the new order arises. Blessed are they who have eyes that see and ears that hear. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to be irritated with the little stuff. You know, I think we handle crises wonderfully. We can rise to the occasion, but it's the little stuff. And I have something that happened in Oslo, Norway. I go to this restaurant that's an Asian restaurant that has vegetarian food. And I was there one night, and they brought me my meal with just laden with tofu and all my veggies and all my wonderful brown rice. And I was drinking my green tea, and I was feeling so healthy and wonderful. And then I thought the next night, I'm going to go back because I just love that place. So I didn't get my same waiter, and I was just like waiting there. And finally I said, I would like to be seated by the window, please. And the window seat was available. It wasn't the night before, and so I sat down. And I, ordered this wonderful veggie dish. And they brought it, and I noticed that, as I put it on the plate, there was no tofu. So I said to the wonderful server, and I said, there is no tofu. And he said, oh, well, I'll take it back. And so he brought it back, and it was just laden in with tofu. And I said, oh, great, wonderful, thank you so much. And then the manager, who the night before I wanted to sit by the window, he goes, oh, no, you may not sit by the window. That is reserved. The window is reserved. So I came like an hour earlier the next night, right, to get the window. And there was nothing he could say, right? So I got my window. And so he came to the table and he said, I understand there was tofu in your dish. And I said, excuse me? He goes, no, the kitchen said there was tofu in your dish. I said, if there was, I didn't see it. But then I didn't have my glasses on either, but I didn't taste it either. So he says, well, you gave false information. And I'm thinking, is this for real? I'm thinking, I cannot believe this is for real. I'm here on the Nobel Peace Prize mission. I'm doing all this. He is questioning my tofu integrity. Oh my God, this is serious. So I said, well, if it was there, I didn't see it, and I didn't taste it. Well, I won't charge you this time. I said, oh, thank you, kind sir. I really appreciate it, because I know that this poor soul needs power. And if he's going to get it through tofu, I mean, if he's that desperate, I'm going to give it to him. And so I just drew the larger circle, and I included this. So I call it the tofu caper. So whenever I, get kind of like irritated with stuff, I remember the tofu caper. And I began laughing because it is hysterical. And I was meeting with one of the ministers of Oslo from Parliament. I was telling him the story. We were laughing so hard. He goes, I am going to tell this tofu caper story. This is quite wonderful. And when we can see the lighter side of it, but if we're not it ourselves, we think, how dare you accuse me of falsifying tofu information? Right? So, but when we're at ourselves, we can what? Draw the larger circle. He drew a circle that shut me out. But Love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. And when we take him into that circle, what do? We disarm people by our joy. We disarm them through not reacting. We disarm them through being open to receive and to see each person. And if they need that power so badly through the tofu caper, that we are willing to give it to them. And if we can just remember this, and if we can just see through the appearance, the condition, and the effect to the truth of being, what is the light of truth? The light of truth is when our littleness gives way to the divine, and the Christ consciousness arises triumphant and victorious. What is truth? It's the light that brings us together as one. It's the knowingness we are boundless. We have no boundaries. They're self-imposed. And the more boundless we become, the more light of truth emanates from us, so that everyone and anyone who comes within our energy field is healed and uplifted in our presence. I love our way of life. I love that my life is always right in front of me, staring back, reflecting back to me for my own places to grow and unfold. Because as long as we are here, we're about our Father, Mother, God's business. And everything else unfolds out of that. It's a pretty wonderful place to be. The gold that we transform our daily life, our experiences, the circumstances that come up, that we can make a shift and draw the larger circle, the mud in which we can build something beautiful, sandcastles in the sky, and the energy that links us as one. So when we look at the gold, the circumstances, and the mud of life, let's spiritualize it. Let's allow it to do its divine thing by means of each and every one of us who heard the call and are going where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you. Happy winter solstice. It's a new day.